All right, welcome back to another episode of Ask a Clutter Boss. I am your Clutter Boss for today. I am Jess Marcy, and this is Ask a Clutter Boss, the internet's best decluttering weekly decluttering advice show. If you're joining me live, please say hello in the comments. I would love to say hi to you. This is Tuesday, February 11th, and we have two great decluttering topics to dive into. Good morning, Mitzi. Good morning. All right, so question numero uno. How do I keep decluttering, or how to keep decluttering once you're sort of okay with your space? Good morning, Linda. How to keep decluttering once you're sort of okay with your space? This is such a fantastic question. And I feel like we spend a lot of time talking about how to declutter. And at this point in the Clutter Boss world, so we're approaching our 5-year anniversary of Clutter Boot Camp. So the first Clutter Boot Camp, which was essentially when I transitioned my business from, well, I'd been working in people's homes, and then I was doing tons of workshops in person, tons and tons and tons. And then I decided to take the leap into the online world. So that was 5 years ago. February of 2020 was when we had our first Clutter Boot Camp. We have many, many community members who have joined us in the last 5 years, and many who are still around since that very first boot camp or that very first year that Clutter Boss existed. And all of that to say, at this point, there are many people in our communities who have had tremendous success decluttering and are at that point where your house is, as this person wrote in, sort of okay. It's sort of okay. We also have many people who have, incredible, they are fully in love with their homes, and they've succeeded on this beginning portion of decluttering. So a side note on this is a lot of people start decluttering and have this idea or dream or notion that this is an overnight thing, a quick thing, but it really is not. And it's one of the cold, hard decluttering truths that I share as much as I possibly can. This is a long process. Decluttering your home to the point where you're living within the space that you have, within the storage space that you have, it's a long process. And you could look at that and know that from the onset. And that could be a negative or depressing feeling, like, I'm going to be doing this forever. Is it worth it? Should I keep doing it? It's too much. It's too long. I need that instant gratification. I need the change now. I'm going to do nothing. Or you could look at that and say, okay, it's a long process, but if I start now, I am going to get to the end point way sooner than if I continue to put this off. And it's a long process, but I'm here for the ride. I'm going to learn a lot about myself. It's going to be interesting. It's going to, your mindset really makes a huge difference. So decluttering is a long process. How many years has it taken to accumulate the amount of stuff that is in your house? And we think about that in terms of ourselves. Like, I have lived in this house for 20 years. It's taken 20 years to accumulate this stuff. But in reality, a lot of us have multiple generations of things under one roof. So really, it's taken multiple generations to accumulate this much stuff. And it's just at a tipping point, and I'm the person that has to deal with it now. And that's okay. So it's taken a really long time to accumulate our clutter. It's not going to take that long to get rid of it, deaccumulate it, let it go. It's not going to take that long, but it's not going to be a week or a month. It's going to take some number of, I would say like 12 to 36 months, depending on how much clutter you have, and depending on how much time and energy you have to devote to this project. So the thing is, once you do that big declutter, you get your living spaces back to, you have only what fits in comfortably into your storage. Your house has released, you have released, or as somebody on our boot camp call said yesterday, edited. You have edited or released a large percentage of your possessions. And now you're, as this person wrote in, sort of okay with your space. How do you keep on going there? So really, really good question. What happens next? So, a couple of things. Number one, and I'm just going to refer exactly to this question. You're sort of okay with your space. The goal is actually to be in love with your space, to have a home that nourishes your soul, to have a home where you can actually feel rejuvenated because you've been in that space. I shared with one of my clients recently. I went on a trip, like a long weekend with my sister in laws, and it felt so good to come home to my home because I have worked tirelessly at this decluttering and creating a space that I love for 2 decades now. And to come home to a home that you absolutely love, that feels so good, is one of the best feelings ever, and that's where we want to go with this decluttering work. We're not just decluttering, we're not just organizing, we're not just doing it because it makes our lives easier. It does, and that is a huge motivator, but that is not the only reason. We are doing this because every single one of us deserves a home that feels safe, that feels supportive, and that you are absolutely in love with your home. So, if you're sort of okay with your space, I want you to start looking at it with fresh eyes. Can you go from sort of okay to wow, I love this. This is so perfect for me right now. If I leave, I can't wait to get home just to be in the environment that supports me so powerfully. Can you get to that point? Can you start to look around and say, okay, I'm sort of okay with this space. I don't have a ton of stuff, but what can I do? How can I tweak what is left? How can I tweak maybe I want to paint, maybe I want to decorate. How can I tweak this so it really lights up my soul? And then the other side of that is you want to create the space that you're in love with. And number two, you want to figure out how to make decluttering just part of your everyday chores. So, as long as we're bringing stuff into our homes, we have to be letting go of stuff. We need to have that equilibrium. If we bring in 25 items, that's 24 more items taking up that volume in our house. So we have to figure out a way on a very regular basis or as frequently as we're bringing stuff in to also be releasing stuff. That is the only way for us to actually maintain a decluttered and organized home for the long run. We have to think about this as doing dishes or doing laundry. We have to have the opposite action to our everyday actions. So every day we eat, we have to have some method for cleaning the dishes that we eat with. Every day we wear clothing, we have to wash our clothing on a pretty regular basis. And every day or every couple of days, there is stuff coming into your house. So stuff has to be leaving your house. So how can you build that routine? How can you build that decluttering into just something that happens on a regular basis? For me, the more that I do this, the more naturally this fits into my everyday life. So I will know I have an area that I need to figure out, declutter, organize. Over time, things just accumulate a little bit in certain areas, and it's not always the same area. It kind of shifts around. Although my refrigerator would be a good example of where things accumulate a lot, and that requires a lot of de-accumulation, right? I have to go through my refrigerator pretty much every week, get rid of the old stuff, wipe it down. But there's other areas in the house that during certain times of the year, things pile up. Our garage in the winter, things pile up because it's cold. You run in, you drop stuff, it's a drop zone. So you have to kind of be on top of that more frequently. But as I see an area piling up or getting tight, I know I need to spend a little bit of time just dealing with that. Recently, it was my bathroom cabinets. They just, toiletries and stuff, they just were piling up over time. I just took everything out, decluttered, cleaned, put it back. It probably took 30 minutes. And it just became, a weekly chore. And that's where you go with decluttering. Once you're decluttered, once you're sort of okay with your space, then we're going to look at these spaces and think, how can we make this a space that I love? And just have in your mind what needs to be addressed and how am I going to address that? When am I going to do that on a pretty regular basis? So you shift from decluttering as the big event, the one giant thing that you have to get done, to the everyday chore. And we don't think of it as a chore anymore. It's just part of who we are. So that would be it does feel like it will never end. I know, but it does end. And the more time and energy you devote to it, and the more you push yourself out of your comfort zone into that growth zone, the faster it does happen. But for some of us, we need to move at a slower pace because that's appropriate for our nervous system. And I have a fantastic lifting coach, like weightlifting coach right now. He's on the Ladder app. I'm loving this app that I'm using. And his name is Andre Cruz. He's fantastic. You could follow him on Instagram if you're so motivated to lift. But one thing that he says over and over again is don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 21. So if your nervous system requires you to move at a slower pace with your decluttering because you are healing from trauma, or you have a neurodiverse situation where you look at stuff and it jumbles up, like you can't actually identify single things. Like a lot of us, when we see a large pile of commingled items, our eyes actually and our brain, they stop kind of communicating well. So I've seen this so many times in clients that I worked with in their homes. You look at a huge pile and it's just so overwhelming that basically you start to shut down different sections of your functioning brain. And I have experienced this myself as well. It's just so overwhelming. You just shut down, right? And so maybe you need to just move at a pace that works with that and not against that. So don't force it because that's going to make it worse. All right, that was we deviated a lot of times in the answer to that question, but it's a really good question. And just remember, there is hope. There is an end to this. This is not how you're going to be living for the rest of your life. Routine action, the more consistently that you work on these decluttering tasks, the sooner the sooner it happens and the easier it gets. So just onward. There's hope. It will happen for you. And, when you need that support, lean into our communities. That's exactly what they're there for. All right. Thoughts, comments before we move on to question number 2. I love this next question. It kind of is related to the first question. How many towels do I need? Thank you for being so specific in your question. It kind of made me giggle a little bit. How many towels do I need? Okay, so the canned response to this, the canned Clutter Boss response is nobody can tell you how much of anything you actually need in your house. So I don't know if your towel requirements are more than mine are. Maybe you have a pool and live someplace warm and you're using towels not only in the shower, but also for the pool. It's different from home to home, family to family, person to person. That being said, the number of towels that you choose to keep needs to fit comfortably in whatever storage you have for towels. So if you're storing your towels in the bathroom and they're jamming them in and you're storing them in other places too, then you have too many towels for your storage space. If your everyday requirements make it so you have to have more towels than fit into the storage that you have, then you have to let go of something else to create adequate storage for the towels. Does that make sense? So if you have a collection of items that you need to support your life, you need them to support your life, or you love them so much you could never let them go, then you need to create storage for those items by decluttering or decreasing the volume of other stuff in other storage spaces. The bottom line is your house and your storage, you need to be able to store the things that you use first and foremost in the storage that you have. We all have a different amount of storage in our homes. We all have different everyday requirements. So your everyday requirement, the stuff to support your everyday requirements, your needs to have storage before anything else. And then if you have extra storage after that, and you have a collection that you love, then yeah, by all means, keep that collection, but store it appropriately, and let go of the things that you don't need. Your storage really just should be based on what you need every single day. Now, that is the canned clutter boss response to how many of this do I need. We there's You always have to filter these conversations with your own requirements, your own day-to-day activities. I'm going to just take this a little bit further though and say we need way less than we think that we need. And when when we launched the Clutter Boss Challenge, which is a 90-day challenge that helps you establish habits, one of the habits that you work on in the Clutter Boss Challenge is doing your dishes every day. And one of the big ahas that several members have talked about from doing that Clutter Boss Challenge, and by the way, this challenge is available anytime if you want to purchase it. You can go to our website and get it. You can start it anytime. It's a fantastic challenge. It just gets you into the habit of doing things that need to be done on a regular basis. One of those big things is your dishes every day. Every day, do your dishes. That is just basic, makes your life so much easier. But here's the thing that participants have noticed is once they started doing their dishes on a regular basis for the purpose of achieving the goal of this 90-day challenge, they realized that they actually needed less dishes. So sometimes we have a lot of stuff because we're not in the habit of regular everyday tasks. We're not doing our dishes every day. We're not doing our laundry every day. So because of that, we have more stuff. We have more dishes, more clothing, perhaps more towels. But the reality is, if we really, really get down to the bottom of how much do we need, not want, need, we need two, right? We need one dish that's clean and one dish that is being washed. We need one towel that's clean and one towel that is being washed. And you could even go less than that if you wanted to. We don't actually need that much stuff. A lot of times we have more stuff because we don't have the time in our day to routinely clean and take care of the stuff that is dirty. But when you start decluttering and when you get into the habit of doing your everyday tasks more frequently, you magically realize that you need so much less stuff. I am a huge fan of daily tasks because it makes the task so much quicker. So when I do my laundry every day, and I'll be the first to admit that there are days that go by where I don't do laundry, but most days I do laundry. I'm doing a small load of laundry. My washing machine is auto sensing how much water I need. It's not wasteful at all. Um, and I'm able to get through the entire load of laundry very quickly. It just fits right into my everyday tasks. I wake up, put on the load of laundry. It's done after 45 minutes. I switch it, which is like just about the amount of time that I'm kind of in the kitchen, unloading the dishwasher, kind of getting my kids out the door. I switch the laundry, it's in the dryer. I fold it and put it away that night because it's one single small load of clothing. Now, in the past, I used to think that it makes more sense to have a laundry day. And a laundry day ended up being an overwhelming amount of laundry. It was the entire day devoted to doing laundry, folding laundry, and half of it never got put away because the day just gets away from you. Um, Additionally, if you miss that laundry day that week, then you're backed up 2 weeks. So you have to have a lot more stuff to support less frequent chores or tasks. Like if you go 2 weeks without doing laundry, you have to have enough clothing to wear for 2 weeks. If you're doing laundry every day, you need such a small amount of clothing. And the same thing with dishes, and the same thing with most of the stuff in our house. The more frequently we can maintain what we own, the less we need to own at any given time. So How many towels do you need? How many dishes do you need? How many forks and knives do you need? Probably less than you think you do, but you also have to have the time and systems and routine tasks set up to support having a little bit less, which actually is way easier. All right, we're at our 20-minute mark. um Yes, Madonna. It's so much more work to take care of more inventory. It's it is we think we're helping ourselves out by having more, but the more we have, the more time absolutely everything takes. And that time really, really adds up. If you have to spend 10 minutes a day looking for something, that's 61 hours a year. 61 hours a year. I mean, just putting away laundry, if it takes you like to put away laundry, you should carry a laundry basket to wherever it goes, open a drawer and put it in. Put your clothing into the drawer. But if you have a lot of stuff in the way of your dresser and your closet, if it's hard to fit the stuff into the drawers, if it's hard to hang up stuff, if it's hard for any reason, you're adding a lot of time to that task. So we don't think about that. It's easy to say if you have to spend 10 minutes a day looking for something, it's 61 hours a year. But if the time it takes to do every single task is longer than it should be, those are just seconds and minutes and hours slipping away. And I'll also venture to say it's not pleasant time. When you are struggling to put something away or the task feels overwhelming, it's frustrating. So you're frustrated. So that time that you're quote unquote losing or spending more of, you're spending it in a feeling of frustration, an energy of frustration. And then that just seeps into the next thing that you do. So when I noticed when I had younger kids, I would feel frustrated about the clutter. And then also I would not be so pleasant to be around. My frustration would be high. And my kids, it definitely impacted them. There's no question about it. The frustration seeps into every area of your life. So not only are you losing the time from maintaining a large inventory of stuff, but you're frustrated and it's impacting other things. Um, the point here though is that's okay. That's okay that that has happened. That's this is the learning curve of life in 2025. It's okay that that has happened. It's okay that that's maybe where you are right now. That's okay. There's a way forward. You have the power to change this, and that's the most important thing. You can make the change. You can buck the system. You can say, "You know what? I don't need all this crap. I actually it's taking time away from my life, and I don't need a corporation to do that to me. I have the power to make the change." And you do. Every day, you have the power to wake up and say, "I'm gonna do something different today because it's what's right for me and my family." So fight for yourself, my friends. Fight for yourself. That's how we wrap up this every week, I think. Fight for yourself. You're worth it. Thank you so much for joining me live on Ask a Clutter Boss. I hope to see you again, same time, same place next week. And in the meantime, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please, please, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. For a small online business, the more liking, commenting, and sharing that you can do, the more it helps us. And we do everything we can to provide a tremendous amount of free content. And a great way to say thank you for that is to tell other people about Clutter Boss, share our videos, subscribe to our content. It actually keeps us going and able to keep this content free. So thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing you next week.